You should have gotten a positive 2.8 on this one. Okay, so that's working with decimals. So the key thing with decimals is making sure that we line up at the decimal place. Okay, so now we're gonna work through fractions. And I will tell you, yes, you can use the crisscross method on this, but the one downfall to that is sometimes you could have a smaller number, so you have to be comfortable with reducing if you're choosing the crisscross method. So today I'm gonna work with common denominators when I can. And when can I decide when I can and when it might be easier to just do the crisscross? Well, I always check first. The first thing I will always look at is I will always say, will my smaller number go into my bigger number on the bottom? And when I look at that and I say, will 3 go into 6? I say, yes, it will. It'll go in there twice. So that means I could take this times 2 to make it a 6. So this is working common denominator method. So whatever I did there, I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite these. So right now I have a negative 16 over 6, and I have a positive 5 over 6. Okay, now that we have the common denominator, here's what I want you to look at. I want you to just, I know in the end, at least, unless I have to reduce, it's going to be over 6. I want you to now just look at your top digits and think of them back when we were working with integers. So think of it as negative 16 and a positive 5. Those are different symbols. I'm going to find the difference, which would be 11. And I'm going to apply the larger sign. So 16 is a larger digit. It has a negative sign. I get negative 11/6. That as a mixed number, if you want to change it to a mixed number, would be negative 1, which puts me at 6. I have 5 more to get to 11, and it's still going to be over 6. So either of these answers at this point are acceptable. We're going to work in the future more with converting between improper and mixed numbers. Okay, so let's try another one. And if you like the crisscross method, you can use that. But I will tell you right now that on the ones that we're practicing right now, it's probably one of the numbers is already in the form that you need it. Okay, so when I look at this one, the first thing I'm going to just ask myself comparing these two, will 4 go into 8? Yes, right? So it'll go in there twice. So I'm going to go ahead and do a common denominator on this one. Okay, so I end up with negative 7 over 8. And we have a positive 1 times 2 is 2 over 8. So I know for now, at least, my bottom number is 8. And now let's just look at the top numbers and not worry about the bottom. So I have a negative 7 and a positive 2. Those are different symbols. Find the difference. 5. Apply the larger digit sign. So that would be negative 5/8. I want you guys to try this one. I'll help you get it set up because here we're working with a whole number. So when you set this up, this 2 is really 2 over 1 because we are working fractions. And then we have plus a negative 7 over 2. So I'm just going to do minus 7 over 2. Okay, this is a positive versus a negative. Okay, so now you're going to either have to go through find a common denominator or you're going to use your crisscross method and you're going to find what your final answer is here. Here I'm seeing when I look at the fractions, I see a positive and a negative. Those are different, so I'm going to find the difference. So go ahead and pause your video and work through this one and then check back in a minute to see if you got the answer correct. You should have gotten negative 3 over 2 or negative 1/2. Okay, so let's go through and work some other ones where they actually call them subtraction. It doesn't mean you're always subtracting. But here's a sample of when we've got subtraction. So jumping back into chapter 1, remember when we had 2 negatives next to each other? We went through and could make a plus sign unless it was through absolute value. So here this becomes 1/3 and we're going to do a plus sign and then 1/3. Nice thing is we already have a common denominator, so we're just going to add straight across. 1 plus 1 gives me 2 over 3. Okay, those were both positives, so that's not anything new compared to what you used to do with fractions. Remember, it's when they throw in those negatives that you have to do all of your thinking. Okay, here we have a mixed number. So I like to, because if I end up subtracting, I like to work improper fractions. versus converting and then having to borrow and things like that. So when I go through to do this, I like to change these improper. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 would give me 10 over 3, and that's a negative, and then I have a negative 5 over 6. Okay, so if you want to use the crisscross method, you may. I'm looking at this right now and looking at my symbols so that in my head I'm saying, am I going to end up adding or subtracting? I can see right now I'm going to add, and I know that my answer in the end is going to be a negative answer. Now, because I'm okay with common denominators, I'm looking at this and saying, will 3 go into 6? Yes, it will. It'll go in there twice. Okay, so whatever I did to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So now I have negative 20 over 6 minus 5 over 6. That one's not going to change. I know the bottom number is going to be 6. And now a negative and a negative, those are the same symbol. I'm going to find the sum. So 20 and 5 is 25. So I get negative 25/6, or that would change into negative 4, which would put me at 24. Need one more to get to 25 over 6. So it's either negative 25/6 or negative 4 and 1/6. Okay, so I want you to try this next one. Okay, so you may need to change these improper. I'm noticing one is positive and one is negative, so you're going to be doing some subtraction between these. Okay, so you may have to reverse them around, or if you change them improper, then you can just think of your top numbers as if they're integers. So go through, pause your video, and work through this one. Remember, you either need to do common denominators or the crisscross straight across method. You should have gotten negative 3/4 for this answer. Okay. Fractions and decimals, so working those rational numbers, it's kind of complex, so be patient with yourself. Don't get frustrated, just keep plugging away at them. Fractions are going to be probably a little more frustrating than decimals. Key thing is that you just keep working at them. Okay, they will get easier the more comfortable you get with them. Good luck with these, you guys.